Hi, this is Chase Utley, and this is the Phillies Show.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Phillies Show. Ruben Amaro Jr., Jim Salisbury, Todd Zalecki. It's Friday, August 16th, 2024. Ruben's on assignment, but Jim and I are here. We're old colleagues at the Inquirer. Jim got my start. Not too many people know this, Jim, but thanks to you, I am in Philadelphia, and I married a girl from Philadelphia. I was an intern at a small paper outside Chicago. I covered some Cubs games. There was a 2-year internship at the Inquirer way back in the day. I happened to go down to Wrigley Field that day. It was Phillies Cubs. I introduced myself to you, and I just said, "Hey, I'm applying for this 2-year internship. You know anything about it?" And you said, "Nah, you said no. I really don't know too much about it, but blah blah blah." We chit chatted for maybe like 5 to 10 minutes. You were so great. You gave me your email address, an AOL email address at the time, and a couple 3-4 weeks later, I get a call from Tim Dwyer, the sports editor at the Inquirer. And he's like, yeah, I talked to Jim Salisbury. He spoke real highly of you. And I was like, well, he did? Do you remember what you told Tim Dwyer? Because I remember what you told Tim Dwyer.
Well, I kind of remember. I thought I sat next to you for like a couple days, like a weekend series.
It might have been.
Yeah, and you were working at a small paper, and we just struck up a conversation, and I just thought you carried yourself like a real pro. And I kind of remember like as the weekend was winding down, you said, I applied for an internship at the Inquirer. And I said, well, I'll see if I can mention it to you. So I mentioned it to Tim, and he threw your resume on top. And I said, this guy might be a pretty good get. And the rest is history. I'm very proud of that moment, and I'm very proud of
my God,
you have done.
life-changing moment, but I think one of the lines you gave to Tim Dwyer was he seems like a good kid, and I don't think he was just there for the press box lunch, you know what I mean, like the free press box lunch.
Right.
In other words, I wasn't there just to be like, get on the field and like stand next to Sam. This is back in the day, so Sammy Sosa was still on the team, and this is 99 2000-ish.
Yeah,
so this is a long time ago.
You were there to get after it and cover some ball.
That's right. Just a couple. Now I'm an old ball scribe.
You are an old. We're just two old ball scribes. That's all.
That's right. Jim, last night was a fun night to be a ball scribe. That's the night you kind of dream of in terms of just having a fun storyline. Weston Wilson hits the 10th cycle in Phillies history, ninth player to do it, and Chuck Klein did it twice. Hits a triple for his first hit in the 4th inning, hits this ridiculous pop-up infield single for his second hit, homers, and then hits this awesome double to right center field, which is just super cool because there's a diving play. It missed, deflects towards center field. He cruises into second for the double. I mean, what a fun moment. What a fun moment for him. Those are fun games to be at.
Those stories write themselves, don't they? I mean,
they
I was
do.
reading your story. And was it over 2,800 minor league at bats before his first big league home run last year?
Yeah, in his first big league at bat last year. Yeah, over 2,800
minor league. Well, yeah, that's right. He hit a home run. So over 2,800 minor league at bats. That is a lot of time in the minors. It's a lot of dedication, perseverance. It's a lot of love of the game. It's a lot of great support from your family, your loved ones, because a lot of these guys are playing some winter ball. They're working out year-round. They're heading off to spring training early. They're bouncing around in the minor leagues. The pay is not great. You're in and out of motels and hotels and apartment buildings, chasing your dreams. So, really, you could just tell by the smile on his face. I thought there was a lot of cool things. I thought the electricity in the ballpark was amazing. It just goes to show when the team plays well. But when there's offense, there's guys circling the bases, you have all that frenzy and all that emotion. Brandon Marsh has really struggled. And Wes Wilson is in that position in place of him. But Brandon Marsh really celebrated, as he always does, Wilson's achievement, as he does for all his teammates. So a real team move there, a team guy. They were genuinely happy for Wes Wilson. He's had some pretty cool moments in Citizens Bank Park. His first big league home run on his first big league at bat last year on the night of Michael Lorenz's no-hitter, and last night hitting for a cycle. He's got some memories. He's got, he's when he gets an opportunity, he does something. He contributes, and that's huge. And for that reason, he'll get some more opportunities here because they're looking for right-handed production. They're looking for more production out of left field. Someone needs to seize it. Beyond the fact that it's a really cool story, a guy with career minor leaguer has a big night. There's an opportunity there if somebody can go out and seize it. Whether it's him, Marsh, Hayes, who's coming back soon off the IL. They're looking for somebody. So anybody that wants to, hold their hand up and show the barrel of their bat, you might have more playing time.
So I got to think he's going to start tonight. It's Patrick Corbin, lefty. Tomorrow it's Mackenzie Gore, another lefty. So Weston Wilson's going to be in left field the next 2 games. If not, something crazy has happened, or I don't know. Everybody talks about Rob Thompson's lineups. That would be a good one. They're like, why is he not playing against these lefties? Wes Wilson against lefties this season is batting .471 with a 1.474 OPS. So he's crushed lefties, crushed them. So he'll play tonight. He'll play Saturday night. Maybe he plays Sunday against the righty. Austin Hayes is going to be back soon. Yeah, that's a question, Jim, is when Austin Hayes comes back, it sounds like he's getting pretty close. He's going to run the bases maybe this weekend. You brought Austin Hayes in. You said he's going to be an everyday player. How do you get Weston Wilson in the lineup? It's going to be tough.
I'm going with hot hand, man. I'm going with the hot hand, and I know
it's that time.
Yeah, you traded for Hayes. You want to see him play. Do you think it's out of the realm of possibility that they ask Hayes to, get some minor league at bats so there's a chance he comes back, really on the ball and sharp? That might, especially if they feel like Wes Wilson is providing some right-handed pop. Maybe you ask Hayes to take some at-bats at Reading or Lehigh so he comes back super sharp. I don't know. They haven't utilized the rehab much, especially with veterans. But do you think that could be in play?
That would. I was thinking the same thing. Did they maybe go, all right, I know Trey and Bryce and JT. All these guys have not gone on rehab assignments, but we really think you need to go on a rehab assignment to get sharp. Be good for you to see some more right-handed pitching, because when you come back, we really want you to play more against right-handed pitching. This could be good for you. But you're right. I mean, go with the hot hand. I'm in total agreement, Jim. It's like it's mid-August. Time to go with the hot hand. You want to lock up this division. They just moved back into first place for the best record in the National League last night with the win over the Dodgers. Go with the hot hand. Start winning some ball games. You got to get something going.
And it helps the pitching staff because they have more margin for error. Like Zach Wheeler really needed it last night. But, and if you send somebody out for a couple games on minor league rehab, and again, we're just kind of, spitballing here. We don't know that they're going to do that. But if you did, and all of a sudden now your production is lacking in left field, boom, you bring him back and you throw him in the mix and you see what he can do. So I think there's probably ways they can do it. But they acquired Hayes for a reason. They like him. I just think there was a kind of a different wrinkle, when they were talking about acquiring him, and then maybe when they got him, at least publicly, it was like, well, he's going to be part of a platoon, and then all of a sudden he was playing every day.
True.
If they could ever get Marsh going in that righty-lefty platoon, they might have something good, but Marsh has really struggled. So I don't know what's going to happen. But I'm sure they're talking about it. They leave no stone unturned, as you know. They talk about everything they have. Like, Thompson, he's got a coaching staff that's very engaged and involved, and they have a sizable front office that weighs in on all these matters.
It was, it was cool to see him just do that, though. I mean, he talked about all-time, like, just a guy that really appreciates his time in the big leagues. So I'm sure he played it great last night, Jim, regarding playing time. He said, listen, I'm going to let them make those decisions, whatever they want to do. I just want to help the team win as much as I can, as best as I can, but he's making a heck of a case for him to stay in that line.
Yeah,
by doing what he's doing.
I mean, smart lad, I think, to say it that way. Humility is and team spirit, whatever you want to call it, dedication to team over self. Those are great qualities. And I know he's doing the interview with Packer reporters, but don't kid yourself. The guys in that clubhouse, they know what's being said, and they know who spreads the wealth, and they know who the team guys are. So I think even his approach in the post game was really smart and really genuine and really admirable.
Yeah, no doubt, Jim. We got a new feature. It is time for Them's Fighting Words is presented by Shibe Sports. Get unique throwback Phillies tees, hats, and sweatshirts from local artists at their shops in Center City, Wayne, Westchester, and at shibesports.com. Jim, we're sporting a couple Shibe Sports originals. This cool Boathouse Road shirt they sent me. You got a Connie Mack tee if you want to check them out.
Connie Mack Stadium.
Connie Mack Stadium, yeah. Not like, Connie Mack the man.
No, I've actually driven through Connie Mack. He was born in Massachusetts. I think it's called West Brookfield, I think. And there's a Connie Mack Street. And
really,
but I never went to Connie Mack Stadium because, of course, I grew up in New England. But boy, having spent 30 plus years in Philadelphia, I wish I got to Connie Mack Stadium. I've heard all the stories. I've seen all the pictures, and it looks like a great place. So yeah, I'm really happy to be wearing this, and I'm going to get a lot of use out of it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, so Them's Fighting Words can be a weekly segment where we kind of pick the best Phillies quote of the week. And Jim, I thought this one was appropriate. It's from Bryce Harper, Wednesday afternoon, following the team meeting that nobody will acknowledge publicly. He said,
"Serious team meeting."
Asked if they talked. After they asked if they talked, he said, "No. I mean, everybody in here knows what to do and how to do their job. If you don't walk through that door ready to do your job each day, then you probably shouldn't be here."
I like it. I like it. You probably, and look, they had a team meeting. It's a good thing. The worst kind of team meetings are when you come out and you lay an egg a couple of nights. They've come out and they've done some damage. Perfect time for a team meeting against a weak team, but also the perfect time for a team meeting because been playing poorly for 6 weeks. You got to get your heads out of you know what and do something. And the last 2 nights after this meeting, they've done a lot. Obviously, last night, a lot of energy in the ballpark, a lot of offense. Yeah. It's like that old story in '80. Paul Owens had a big team meeting in San Francisco, right?
Yeah.
And but he saved it for the day that Steve Carlton was pitching.
That is hilarious, Jim, because I thought of another team meeting in 2007. The Phillies start 4-11. They a walk-off loss in Cincinnati. The next day they get together. The fellas have a little chat. Who's on the mound that night? Cole Hamels.
Yeah,
he goes out and I think he punches out 15. They win. Boom. They finish with they have the best record in the National.
Yeah, you got to pick your spot. You don't want to have that team meeting the night before you bringing up a rookie sixth starter from AAA. You want to have lefty or Cole Hamels on the mound.
And in this case,
then you look like it has impact and you're really smart. But last night was really exciting. But and they came out early with some home runs and some power. You got to use all your resources, right? And the crowd is a resource, and you get them into the game early, and it really helps. But the night before they fell down early, and the day of the team meeting, and lo and behold, they scratched back. Phillips kept it close enough, but Kyle Schwarber, who anybody who's listened to me prattle on, I'm just so impressed with him as a person, a player, and a leader. And he did it again. This is a guy that walks the walk. He leads in kind of with quiet humility and humanity. And he just backs it up time and time again. He hits a grand slam, and that makes everybody have a cleansing breath and relax. And they go on to win the night of a team meeting. And he's done it before, Todd. He's done it before. And I will actually looked up one occasion where he really impressed me. You'll remember this. I might have to go for the old reading glasses here, but you remember they had like a bunch of September collapses a few years ago. So they had a losing record in 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 in the month of September. It cost managers their jobs. It cost them playoff berths. It made the whole organization impatient. And then all of a sudden it becomes this narrative that's hovering over the team in 2022 when they're trying to make the playoffs and have a good September run. And we go into San Francisco and they get swept. Do you remember that? They get swept in San Francisco on the first 3 days, September 1, 2, or September 2, 3, and 4. They get swept in San Francisco. And I remember walking into that clubhouse after that game, and it was a funeral parlor. And it's just weighing on them. And I think we were talking to JT Realmuto about the September struggles. But all of a sudden, Kyle Schwarber comes out of the back room. He's got like a pair of gym trunks on, T-shirt. He's all beat up after the game. He's wearing the look of the loss on his face. And he stops in front of me, and he says, "It'll be all right. It'll be all right. We'll be okay." And he claps his hands softly. "It'll be okay." And I actually wrote that in my story. And then they turn around, and they won 6 or 7 after that.
Yeah.
And then they kind of peaked. They dipped again. And now it's a real struggle. Remember, then they get swept again in Wrigley Field.
Mm-hmm.
And team goes into Washington for like a 5-game series because of a couple of rainouts or something. And the man who said everything's going to be all right, he put them over the top. In that second game of that doubleheader, he hit 2 home runs. And then 2 nights later, he hits 2 home runs in Houston to seal up their first playoff berth in a decade. I mean, to me, that's leadership. Acting like, it's going to be okay and being a calming influence in the clubhouse, because he's played in many postseasons. That's one of the reasons they brought him here, for that postseason know-how. And the way he was cool under pressure when the anxiety was building, and he would say the right thing and then do the right thing. I mean, in the final 4 games of that season, of that September, the final 4 games that meant something before they clinched.
Right, before they clinched.
He had 2 home run nights. To me, that's leadership in word and action. And I thought he showed it again with the grand slam the night of the team meeting a couple nights ago.
100%, because they come out, there's all this buzz about, did they have a team meeting? Did they not have a team meeting? They're playing like garbage. And then, they're down, 3-0, 4 batters in the game. So the birds are back out. And oh my gosh, they're going to lose again to the Marlins. But you're right, Jim. I remember that national series, that 5-game series at the end, because I think the Brewers had almost caught them. I think it was the Brewers, and for the wild card, the final wild card, they might have actually tied them at one point.
Yep.
In that
the
series.
Brewers were playing down in Miami, because every night we'd go in the clubhouse, and that game, their game would be on the TV, and everybody would be around it.
Yeah, and I remember everybody was like, "They're done. They're cooked." They lost one of those games to the Nationals at the beginning, and
they lost the first game of a doubleheader, and it was like, oh my god,
that's right. Yeah. And so then it was a leadoff home run. Yeah. So but Schwarber really is that steadying presence. I might have mentioned this last couple of weeks, but that Saturday night in Seattle, when Jeff Hoffman, they had a nice lead going. Jeff Hoffman gave up 4 runs in an inning, and then Carlos Estevez got hosed on a 1-2 pitch, walked home the winning run. That same type of vibe, Jim. Funeral parlor vibe, and there's not a single person in the clubhouse. And talking to Kevin Gregg, from Phillies PR, he's like, "Who do you want?" I said, "I want to talk to Schwarber, because he's the guy that, he's the guy you want to talk to in a moment like that." When it's and he was tremendous once again. We're going to be fine. This is a bad spot. We're not happy, but we're working our butts off. He gave us the line of, we're in that cage. He's like, "I wish people could see how hard we're working in here right now. I really wish we could bring people down and see the work we're putting in to get this thing turned around, because we're taking hundreds of swings a day for maybe 5 swings the entire night just to get that opportunity to get things turned around. The next day, of course, they win in Seattle. They struggled after that, but Schwarber, once again, like you said, Jim, Wednesday night hits that grand slam, and then it's been pretty good since. It's been pretty good.
That's since. Great stuff. We're taking great stuff. We're taking hundreds of swings a day for those 5 opportunities. That's wisdom, and he's got this big brother quality to him. And I've said this on a recent podcast, but I will say it again: great signing. Great signing.
I could not agree more. I mean, what a bargain for 4 years, 79 million, whatever it was, 80 million. Really a steal. Really a steal. You get a guy that hits leadoff, hits tons of home runs. Pitchers are scared to death of him in the top of the first inning. Gets on base a lot, and the clubhouse presence cannot be overstated how impactful he has been in that clubhouse. When you see he is with guys after games, he's banged up, he's getting treatment after games, guys really respect the heck out of him. There's no doubt.
And we've seen rudderless clubhouses.
Oh, yes.
And that is not one of them. And he's the rudder. Just a fabulous, fabulous signing.
Yeah. Trea Turner. So when Wes Wilson hit that home run in his first big league plate appearance, he got kind of overshadowed because Michael Lorenzen, threw the no-hitter that night. Well, last night, Jim, I had a game story ready to go on Trea Turner. And then I had to blow it up because Wes Wilson ended up making Phillies history. But Trea Turner last night, I thought this was a nice secondary story. 3 for 5, a double, 2 RBIs. In the 7th inning, he hits an opposite field single, 109 miles an hour off the bat. It was on the ground, but it was 109 miles. That's the second hardest hit ball of the season. Smoked it to right field. Wow. But to me, the thing that jumped out was in the bottom of the first inning. He hits a hard ground ball to third base. Third baseman has to back up because it gets on him pretty quick, and he's flying down the line. And you could tell, just using your eyes, he was flying. Then you go to StatCast. That was his 8th fastest home to first of the season. That was his fastest sprint speed home to first since like July 20th. So he was really moving last night. That was encouraging because he's been struggling offensively. He's been kind of taken into the field defensively. We talked about this the other day, and he's not been running well. And you're sitting there going, is he healthy? Is he not healthy? Rob Thompson says he's healthy, but then he gave some interesting quotes last night talking about how it's a little bit of a physical thing. Some days he feels good. Some days he doesn't feel good. He's being conscious of the postseason coming up. He wants to be healthy for the postseason. 25-year-old Trea Turner would be busting it hard down the line every single time, but early 30s Trea Turner has to be a little bit more judicious in using his speed. But it was a good sign in a lot of ways to see him running hard, to seeing him putting the ball in play. He had a double down the line that knocked in a couple runs, and then hitting that hard opposite field single. Jim, you've used the word catalyst so many times with Trea Turner. If he could get going,
yeah, he'd be great.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, he'd be just a total building block for them to have a great finish here, and they need him down the stretch, and they need him healthy in October. And I understand he was protecting it a little bit, but just good to see him come out of those starting blocks in that first inning and sprint down the line. And maybe it proves something to himself, because sometimes the biggest opponent you face is yourself.
Right.
And something I really believe in is the mind leads the body. And if he can get his mind, in a place where it feels good about the health of his hamstring, it's going to start leading his body, and he's going to be using all his resources. And one of his great resources are his legs. And then going to feel good if he feels good about his legs and his base, it's going to help him at the plate. And by the way, it's also going to help him on his defense, because your legs are in everything in this game. So,
right.
That was it was kind of great to hear him admit that, he's been a little cautious because you're scratching your head. And it was just as great to hear him really test it. And maybe that proves to himself that he's a full go, because he's incredibly important. We saw as they were building the best record in baseball, when he came back, he was just electric and on fire. And hitting can come and hitting can go. And sometimes his slumps last they can last a little long. So it's good to see him maybe pulling out of this one because they need him. You need your best players to be your best players.
He said he. No, I was going to say he said he was looking at some film. He got I don't want to say benched, but he did not play on Wednesday. Rob wanted to give him a day to clear his mind, and so he didn't play on Wednesday. He said he went back and he watched a lot of film from 2020, 2021. Because he's been frustrated with how inconsistent he's been, and he noticed that in early in his career he would have these bad slumps, or he would have slumps, but they wouldn't be nearly as peaks and valleys ish. And that's not been the case with the Phillies. When he's been bad, he's been really bad, he said, and when he's been great, he's been really great. So he's kind of been wanting to get rid of those peaks and valleys. So he's hoping that he can find something by looking at that 2020, 2021 film that will make him a little bit more consistent. So when he is struggling, he's not like, whatever his number's been, the OPS just over 400 for the last month. You at least be in the 600s. At least be in the 600s if you're going to be bad. Don't be in the 400s.
Something Ruben mentioned after talking to Utley the other day in LA that, sometimes a little struggle can make you stronger and make you better. Adversity can, make you tougher, and make you better. And if you see it through, it can be weirdly beneficial. And maybe if they have indeed survived the stormy seas, they'll be better for it.
Yeah.
In bigger games down the stretch. So, fingers crossed, because this is a team that they need to do some damage in October. Let's not lose sight of that. They huge payroll, huge talent, ticking kind of odometer on that nucleus. They need to win one here in the next year or two.
Yeah, Carlos Ruiz, who won one, of course, in 2008. I think he's going to be at the ballpark Friday night, alumni weekend. Always fun to kind of see like the Phillies legends come back out. So Carlos Ruiz, they're honoring him in some way tonight. I don't know if it's like a retirement ceremony, but he will be here. Chooch is one of the all-time best guys, Jim. You and I both love him.
Oh, yeah.
But David Montgomery is going on the Wall of Fame for the late, great Phillies president, David Montgomery. And what a tremendous person. Everybody always talks about David and what a great guy he was, but he really was a truly special human being. Knew everybody's name in the Phillies front office. He knew everything about your life, Jim. He knew everything about my life. He was really, just really an unbelievable leader and person. And so it's cool that it's really great and well deserved that they're giving him this honor. It's funny though, because if David were still around, he would not want this fuss at all. He would be so, I don't want to say embarrassed, but he would be very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable.
It's funny you said that. This is completely unrehearsed, but he would be against it. He would snuff it out. And I actually last night was writing a story about David and this honor that's going to go on PHLY website later today. And that's one I even said he would say, no, you're not doing this. So I think it's really well deserved. I really applaud the organization, John Middleton and the organization for making this move. I think we all know what a great person David was. And community servant. He's also a hell of a baseball man, which I think first and foremost the Wall of Fame is for. Look at David as, he took over in '97 when they were in a deep, deep rebuild. The strike had really hit hard in Philadelphia. The fans weren't coming. They desperately needed a new ballpark. He identified Ed Wade as someone who could lead a methodical rebuild, and Ed did. They drafted really well in those years, and they brought in a lot of homegrown talent. And Ed built the real core of those championship teams. And then when it was kind of, they got in the red zone, but they couldn't punch it over, they brought in Pat Gillick, and he punched over. Yep. David made those two hires. He saw something in both of those guys. 257 straight sellouts. To do that, you have to design a beautiful ballpark people want to come to. Well, David spearheaded that, the design of that ballpark. I mean, it was a team effort, obviously, but he was the leader of the franchise when Citizens Bank Park went from a dream and then a parking lot into a beautiful baseball palace, and they ended up winning the World Series. He led the franchise when they, again, team effort, but they negotiated a really important local TV deal that's given them the revenues to bring in people like Bryce Harper and Trea Turner, and extend, and build this new generation of a great team. So I think, and when I look at Citizens Bank Park and I look at that angled center field wall, I think of the story John Middleton told me in 2022. They eliminate the Braves. It was that great game. They used a bunch of pitchers, 15 strikeouts, no walks. JT Realmuto hits the inside the park home run. Mm-hmm. And, after the game, talking to John Middleton, he's like, David designed that wall. He wanted that angular wall with the high trajectory because he thought it would create some excitement, like inside the park home runs. JT hits inside the park home run. And John Middleton in the clubhouse that day said, David's smiling on us today. So, and, this weekend, the organization smiles a little bit back at David. As a reporter, this. The reporter relationship with like a team executive, a GM, a president, it can be difficult at times. There's times you bang heads. There's times you get sideways. And I think we both had that experience with David Montgomery because he was the defender of his organization. But he understood the reporter's role and he was always a pro. And, when you disagreed, when you banged heads, it was over the next day. He'd make a point to walk by you, slap you on the back. It was over. He was a man's man. And I respected that. And like you mentioned, he got to know everybody. He touched a lot of lives. There was a guy named Rex Hudler who played here in 97 and 98. I covered him. I loved the guy. He was a fabulous person. He didn't play a lot. He was coming in as a utility guy. Didn't play a lot. Kind of showed up, hurt his hamstring, just didn't contribute as he had hoped to. But he was only here 2 years. But, David made an impact on his life in just 2 years to the point where when David Montgomery passed away in 2019, we were in St. Louis and headed over to Kansas City for a weekend series. And I remember walking into the press box. It was a day or two after David died in Kansas City and seeing Rex Hudler, who is now a broker for the Royals. And Rex is in his jacket and tie. And he comes up to me and, we greet each other. And he says, I always wear a blue tie for the Royals, a royal blue tie for the Royals. Every night I wear a blue tie. And he said, tonight I'm wearing a red tie in honor of David Montgomery. It was actually pretty beautiful. And that was the impact Dave had on Rex's life. And Rex was only a utility guy there for 2 years, and most of it was on the IL. So, great honor for David Montgomery Saturday night. And you're right. He would protest the heck out of it.
He would be so embarrassed. He would be so embarrassed. He loved the Phillies. He grew up a Phillies fan, and he cared so much about Phillies fans. Jim, I'm sure you've heard this, and I'm sure we've talked about it. Rain delays. David was one of the nicest, most even-keeled, genteel men ever. But rain delays. He would get so angry if something did not happen the way it was told it was going to happen with a rain delay. Everybody says rain delays, like, why don't they just cancel the game, or what are they doing here, or whatever. Believe me, David Montgomery, when there was a rain delay and something was not happening with the weather that was supposed to happen, he got very upset because he did not like the idea of Phillies fans sitting on the concourse or coming to a game that was not going to be played, or a game not starting when they said it was going to start, because he was always really concerned about the Philly fan and what their experience was going to be like at the ballpark. And that was the other side of David, but it showed you how much he cared about the Phillies and the fan base.
It showed you he was a kid from Roxborough. He was a fan. He used to imitate Richie Ashburn's hook slide on his kitchen floor. He was a fan. He used to go to Connie Mack Stadium. Yeah. And so next time you're up on the Hall of Fame Club, at Citizens Bank Park, on that level. They have all that beautiful collage of pictures from great moments. There's a shot of the front page of the Inquirer, and there's like this vertical picture of the night Matt Stairs hit the home run in Dodger Stadium in October of 2008. And it's kind of shot from the third base dugout perspective. So you catch the entire Phillies dugout, and every head is watching this ball rise as Stairs comes out of the batter's box. Well, one thing, whenever the Phillies were on the road, David wouldn't sit in some executive suite. He always sat right behind the dugout. He always had his scorebook. Mm-hmm. He scored every inning. And you can see the Phillies dugout, and right behind it, David Montgomery is rising from his seat watching this ball fly out of the ballpark. He's sitting there amongst the fans, and you can see the euphoria, the growing euphoria and growing jubilation on everybody's face as that ball rises up. I still call it one of my greatest memories covering the Phillies. I mean, hearing that ballpark go silent. I would urge anybody who has a chance to walk by that picture some night this season when they're in the Hall of Fame Club. Talk about a picture telling a story. It's a great one. I'm not sure who took it. I think it was in the Inquirer, so hats off to that person. But check it out. And, I mean, congratulations to David Montgomery. Congratulations to the Phillies for recognizing his impact and putting him on the Wall of Fame.
Yeah, it'll be a good night. It'll be a special night, special weekend, fun weekend. We will be back early next week to look ahead and look back and have some more fun. So, hey, Jim, I'll smell you later, buddy.
Oh, man, you're stealing my lines. All right, I'll smell you, Todd.
This is The Phillies Show. If you haven't already, please subscribe to The Phillies Show wherever you get your podcasts. You can also watch us on our YouTube channel. If you like what we do, give us a review. Tell a friend. Catch Ruben, Jim, and me on Phillies Nation TV, presented by Valley Forge Tourism. New episodes air an hour before every Saturday Phillies game on NBC Sports Philadelphia. Replays air throughout the week and on PhilliesNation.com. Get more of Ruben's analysis during, before, and after Phillies games on NBC Sports Philadelphia, on the Sports Radio 94 WIP Morning Show, and MLB Network. Read Jim at the All City Network at allphly.com. Find more of me at MLB.com, the Phillies Beat newsletter, and occasionally on MLB Network.